working? Okay.
Yeah, it's working. There we go. Okay. Okay, I'd like to call the Town Commission special meeting on January 6, 2026 at 1:32 PM.
Kim, can you turn?
I'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and then the roll call.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call?
Mayor Burrell,
Yeah.
Vice Mayor Mayfield,
Here.
Commissioner Fender,
Here.
Commissioner Kurzman,
Yes.
Commissioner Titikus.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay. All right, public comment on non-agenda items. Do we have any comments?
No.
Seeing none, we'll go right to the guidelines, action items, bid appeal for William DeLuca. First, I'd like to call in the town manager to get all the requirements and whatever the situation is and how it started.
Thank you, Mayor. Basically, the memo that I have in the packet, I think it's like the third page down of the revise with today's date. Basically, the bids were opened on December 22nd at 11 a.m. Mr. DeLuca was present representing Treasure Coast Infrastructure LLC, also known as WCDEL, doing business as TCI, for the bid opening meeting at Town Hall. After the bids were received, a review was made, and it was determined that Mr. DeLuca's firm did not meet the 5-year requirement for being in business as an entity. In the documentation that's on your desk from today, there's a highlighted questionnaire that was filled out, and Mr. DeLuca filled it out for the entity, and he put down that they're in business for 2 years. Actually, the corporate record showed that it was May of 2025 is when the business was formed. But they were working as a DBA for the WCDEL, and they were also listed as a fictitious name under that firm. So you'll hear probably from the appeal that you had the full entity name. Well, when you have a DBA, you're doing business as. So everything should reflect the business that you're doing as. But that wasn't the rationale for why it was disqualified. The main reason why was the 5-year in business requirement and 5-year licensee under that entity as well. So I sent an email, or Mr. DeLuca sent an email to me on Friday, the 26th of December, and Town Hall was closed, so I received that on Monday morning. Went and I re-reviewed all the material that I had available, including the documents that you have here, and determined that he did not meet those requirements. And so I drafted a letter, which is in the documentation here, to Mr. DeLuca, basically stating that he was not considered because of the requirement to have 5 years experience. He then, so I denied his protest, and I believe It was December 30th at 8:10 in the morning when I denied the protest, and I think I got a phone call from Mr. DeLuca about 15 minutes later, and he had explained the difference about the two corporate names, and, you know, he didn't know, couldn't explain about the 5 years, but I didn't question him, really, because I had the documentation. So I think I even mentioned to him at the time that I wasn't into a situation where I was going to have a debate, you know, over the issue. So on January 5th, yesterday, 2:51, I received an email from Mr. DeLuca making a formal appeal of his denial of his protest. At 7:50 last evening, I sent an email to Mr. DeLuca advising him he'd be allotted time at this meeting and to explain his appeal before the town commission today at 1:30. And technically, he didn't meet the deadline for having the appeal in front of you, but I felt, you know, Friday would have been his deadline. That's even taking into account the fact that we had a holiday, but, you know, according to our ordinance, it's 3 days, 3 calendar days. So it doesn't specify any leniency for weekends and holidays. But I thought that, you know, it was probably in everybody's best interest to hear what Mr. DeLuca has to say and in front of you all and let you make that determination. The documents that I had preceding the memo is just the sign-in sheet of when we did the bid opening on the 22nd at 11 a.m. right here in this room. And Mr. DeLuca signed in representing TCI as the company, Treasure Coast Infrastructure. And his email address that he put down is bill@treasurecoastinfrastructure.com. So, you know, I know, you know, he took great pains to explain about it being a DBA under WC Dell LLC, but they are really two corporate entities, and, you know, and go through great pains of doing a DBA, because that's what you want your name to be for your representation. And so that's why we're dealing with Treasure Coast Infrastructure as the entity involved. And that's really an update on, you know, where we're at today. And I thought if it's okay with the mayor and the commission, we'd give Mr. DeLuca an opportunity to come in front of you. He did hand out a packet. I think each of you have a copy of it. Do you have a copy of this? One? Okay, let me give you this one. Hold on. Excuse me. Thank you, sir. Mayor, may I call Mr. DeLuca up, or do you have questions of me before?
No, leave, if you're finished, that's it. Okay, I'd like to call Mr. DeLuca. Got 10 minutes.
Yes.
And thank you, Bob, for the lead-in to the issue.
Thank you. Can you identify yourself for the
Yeah.
record and give your address, please?
William DeLuca, 3171 Southwest Otter Lane, Stuart, Florida, 34997. May I begin?
Yes.
Okay. I will just start, I don't want to get nuanced here, however, my interpretation was the mandatory, or it was a non-mandatory meeting here for the bid. I may have, or I did sign in under TCI, but every document was submitted under WC Dell LLC, which is in fact the corporation that is representing this bid, as the documents suggest. Deadline, as far as that is concerned, it does say in your own protest description that was sent to me through a public record request that they are calendar days, and then in parentheses, excluding Saturday, Sunday, and legal holiday. So if I go by that representation, my appeal was in time, but that's all in nuance. So I'd like to start with myself. I introduced myself. I'm a local Martin County resident, and I'm here gratefully, and I sincerely appreciate everyone's time and duty to carry on behalf of the town of Sewell's Point. For context, I do hold an advanced MOT certification, and I am also a certified underground utility contractor. I spent my career building and operating infrastructure projects under public oversight. I don't envy anyone in the position or the responsibility that you guys shoulder. You're making a decision for the community under time, pressure, public scrutiny, and with real consequences attached. I came prepared to argue a long list of legal and procedural issues. However, I'm much more inclined to present a solution out here in the open. One that protects the town, protects this grant, and allows this project to move forward cleanly and responsibly. My request is straightforward today. Vacate the disqualification and award of this bid the way the ITB was designed to work. Before I go any further, I want the commission to understand that I'm not asking you to rely on my word alone. I've submitted a packet for the record that includes documented proof of Martin County waiving the 5-year requirement, including a public contract and an RFB article reflecting the practice. I've also included the town's own legal notice, this town's own legal notice, which expressly reserves the town's right to waive or reject any bid based on technicality or irregularity. The same discretion that was described of my bid in my LLC by the town engineer to this commission meeting on December 23rd, as it was recognized as technically they do not qualify. In that same packet, there are 2 professional references from people I'm sure that you know, local municipal engineer, lead engineer for Martin County, and a well-known surveyor, both of whom I have worked directly with on earlier projects and have helped me guide these projects from beginning to end. I've also included evidence of 2 current municipal contracts under WC Dell LLC, one here in this county and one directly on the county's southern border. I have 2 additional recommendations of award from South Florida municipalities available immediately upon request. Both recognize the quality of my company's work and the savings that we deliver. My point is not that the town must waive anything. My point is that the authority, discretion, and precedent already exists, and they support a consistent, defensible decision here. It sounds like the real concern here is whether the work can be done and can it be done on time. Is that correct, I would assume? Okay. It sounds like that the other concern would be risk. Risk of delay, risk of losing grant funding, risk of making a decision that creates more problems later. If I were sitting where you are, I'd see it exactly how you see it. But I want to be clear to the commission about exactly who you are evaluating. I was the director of operations for 8 years of a local contractor. I personally served as a project manager as well on multiple successful projects in the town of Sewell's Point, including the North Water Main project and another sensitive project that included an archaeologist that had to come in preserving documented Indian burial grounds south of Town Hall down the road here, which required extreme discipline, restraint, and strict compliance. That work was accepted by the town, it met your standards, and it was successfully completed. The Vice President of Drilling at WC Dell LLC has installed more pipe in the town of Sewell's Point than any other person I can ever say has been working in this region to this day. My construction lead has personally tied in and tested more than half of the water and sewer lines in the town of Sewell's Point over the last 5 years. To further reduce execution risk, I've added an operations manager. He has over 30 years of serious FDOT experience, and his sole role is keeping schedules tight, inspections clean, and projects predictable. I also want to clarify why, in my bid, I identified Captech Engineering and Joe as a professional reference.
Sorry.
Sorry about that. If that wasn't me.
That was me.
Oh, sorry, Bob. To this day, I believe the project managers and inspectors from Captech would agree that WC Dell LLC is capable of performing this work because we were working with the engineers and inspectors on the projects we completed successfully here for the town of Sewell's Point. They observed our work firsthand, they inspected it, and they accepted it as complete. For that reason, I view them as an appropriate professional reference on capability, separate and apart from any technical interpretation applied in procurement. There's one fact the commission should not overlook. Town engineering staff, engineer personally solicited me to bid this project, and were also disappointed when I did not bid on an Ocean Breeze project here up the road in Martin County. They called me after the bid, and I did not submit a bid, and they said that they were disappointed that I did not submit a bid for that project. That solicitation occurred with full knowledge of my background, my experience, and my operating structure. If the town rep believed I was unqualified, then why solicit me to compete? I also want to put a current, directly relevant fact on the record. As I'm standing here today, a private entity and resident in Martin County selected our company over a local competition to perform underground utility work. That work requires drilling, tying in, and installing utilities in a Martin County right-of-way with the same exact scope as this project. Martin County has reviewed it, approved it, and is fully aware of the work. Our team met with them this morning for a pre-construction kickoff. In fact, as we speak right now, our team is under construction on that project, and I can verify all this. We frequently perform the same scope routinely in this county for South Martin Regional Utility. They work under the umbrella of Martin County as well. It's not the county, that is not work the county allows unless a contractor is responsible, compliant, and trusted. Also, just this morning, we completed a final walkthrough with Seacoast Utility Authority, and they did a final approval on our sewer project on time and on budget. SMRU has chosen to partner with us for the next 3 to 5 years, right here in Martin County. And I received 2 recent notices of recommendation of award for other South Florida municipalities who understand the quality of our work and the cost savings we provide. Multiple bonding agencies have confirmed we are fully capable of adding this project and delivering it on time. Hence the bid bond in the packet. I want to be very clear. Yes, the town absolutely has the authority to disqualify based on experience when solicitation requires it. But the town also has the discretion to waive experience requirements when doing so does not affect competitive integrity. Once discretion exists, it must be exercised consistently. Public procurement only works when the town remains neutral, not just between bids, but between relationships. When vendors have a history or disputes, the town should never be placed in the middle of it. Not because anyone is acting improperly, but because the appearance of being used as leverage creates risk that this town does not need. This bid represents approximately $150,000 in tax savings. You can call it grant money instead of town tax dollars, but whether federal, state, or local, we all pay into these funds. I pay into them, you pay into them, and most importantly, the community pays into them. Part of your duty is ensuring that money is spent responsibly without sacrificing quality and without creating avoidable risk. And let me be clear about one thing. An entity is paperwork, licensing, filing, dates, and documents. What actually makes a project successful are the operators, the people running it, drilling it, inspecting it, and standing behind it. Those operators are here. They've worked in this town. They've installed your infrastructure. They've been inspected, accepted, and trusted by this town, by this county, and by other municipalities across South Florida. No one has said we cannot do the work. No one said we're unsafe, and no one said we're incapable. What's being discussed is a technical interpretation, a technicality that your own legal notice expressly allows you to waive. And the question before you is whether it makes sense for the town, for the community, and the public to walk away from $150,000 in tax savings because of a technicality that can be waived when capability, performance, and risk are not in dispute. Vacating the disqualification is not bending the rules. It is using the discretion you already reserved to make a decision that is fair, consistent, and responsible. If helpful, we can review that packet together, and I'm ready to read the professional references into the record or answer any questions. And I do once again thank everyone for their time and responsibility that you carry on behalf of the town of Sewell's Point.
Thank you. Any questions, any comments? Okay, Mr. Titicus.
Yeah, I have a couple questions. There are two companies here that, one is William Dell, and what's the other company? And when were they both established?
WC Dell LLC established November 10th of 2023.
Okay,
Now, I registered that with a fictitious name of Treasure Coast Infrastructure. I was advised by legal counsel to reserve Treasure Coast Infrastructure LLC so that no one could take it and thus cause litigation to bog up my company.
and when was that LLC?
May of 2025.
Okay.
So I believe that's where the misunderstanding came into place.
And your bid submittal was as Treasure Coast Infrastructure or as William Dell LLC?
The latter is WC Dell LLC.
Okay. I have another question in terms of the references that you provided. One of them from Ms. Lindsay
Yes.
said that you were working Jamie Underground 2019 to present.
Well, that is from, whenever she wrote the reference. So I don't know if that's an oversight or what, but
May of 2025?
yeah, I'm not currently there though with
What-
Jamie Underground.
Okay. When did you start devoting your full-time efforts towards Treasure Coast Infrastructure or WC Dell LLC?
Sure, full-time May of 2025 on the underground utility license part of the entity.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Senator Mayfield, Vice Mayor Mayfield, sorry.
Sorry, my microphone's. Hi there.
Hi.
First of all, I appreciate you being here, and I appreciate your dedication to your business. And from everything you've said, it sounds like you have experience, you know what you're doing, and I feel like you'd be a great candidate for, upcoming projects we have. I actually welcome a robust bid process. In fact, in the past, we've had issues with not enough bids, so that has come up, and I love the idea that there are qualified companies ready to help serve the residents. And I also care very much about being fair to all parties and, following the legal process. I'm a CPA. I do understand all the entity differences very well. I understand what you're doing. That makes sense. Sounds like it is confusing, though, when you look it up. I looked it up. It's not super straightforward. But it's moot because, unfortunately, the minimum, it's minimum qualifications, which says right there, minimum is kind of like the lowest level, and it does say 5 years, and both are, below halfway through 5 years. So I would probably stick with what we've done because that is just, unfortunately, that's just the lowest level. But like I said, I'm impressed with what you said and your motivation. But I'm not going to be in favor of the appeal, so sorry.
No worries.
Anybody else have a question? Mr. Kurzman?
Yes, I agree a lot with what the Vice Mayor just said. I feel that, in other words, when you put something in writing and you say this is the requirement of the bids, we locked everybody else out that might have had less than 5 years' experience. And it wouldn't be fair to other people that maybe wanted to bid, but they weren't able to because they didn't meet the 5-year qualification. In the few, it does, like, once again, I agree, it sounds very impressive, the resume and everything. And I wouldn't be opposed somewhere down the line if we have other projects to possibly trying out your company and keep you in the Rolodex as needed. It sounds like you'd be a good, dependable company, but when you make a commitment with qualifications, you got to stay between those lines, and it's hard to make an exception when you put that in writing, and it wouldn't be fair to the other bidders. I'm going to, once again, maybe sometime in the near future, we'd love to probably use your services. You sound like you're qualified. But when we put 5 years, it has to be just that. It's 5 years. Just like when you put a resume out for an employee, you're looking for a certain amount of experience, and that's usually what you stick with. And I'm going to have to stay with the decision that staff has made, unfortunately. But I appreciate you coming in and even putting the bid in to show who you are. And it's definitely the next time your name comes up, and we have something maybe a little bit smaller or more reasonable, we'd love to have you. Thank you so much.
Understood. All right, go ahead, I don't want.
Mr. Titigus.
I have some questions for Mr. Capra. Joe, Mr. DeLuca indicated that you had asked him to bid on this job. Is that the case?
The answer to that question is yes. We have a number of contractors out there. I don't, basically, as you know, we have a time constraint on this project. We had a concern about interest. We have roughly 4 projects that need to be built at the same time. And so, yes, we did ask all the contractors we know to bid the project. And we actually called them on numerous occasions to make sure that they bid the projects. But you have to realize, I don't know the specifics of what they're turning in until they turn in a bid, okay? So when they turned their bid in, it did show that they did not meet the 5-year requirement. It's clearly stated the minimum qualifications. Again, so to answer your question, yes, I did solicit bids. I was happy to see that we've got more than one bid on every one of the projects. There's a lot of work to get done in a short period of time. So I don't disagree that I did ask people to bid. I asked a lot of people to bid. But I don't know all their specifics on meeting the qualifications until they turn in the bid. That's when they show me the documentation that's been presented to you today.
And another question, in terms of, you do work for other municipalities other than Sewell's Point. And Mr. DeLuca presented a contract that he recently entered into with, Jupiter Island. And also he indicated he's doing work for Martin County. Do you know whether Martin County has a similar 5-year requirement?
I did have a conversation with Martin County Utilities. They told me they had in one of the project, in the project that he either bid or was selected on, I think he was the low bidder on, that basically he had to be disqualified for the 2-year or 5-year requirement. Now, unfortunately, I did not, that's what they told me, okay? I didn't go through the research of it. I was told that they may be adjusting their requirements, okay? So I just want to be upfront with you. I did talk to them because after the bid, we had talked to Martin County Utilities. As you know, the project we're working on is though we're building it, it is for Martin County Utilities. So they did express that they had an issue. They did also mention that I don't know if they have or they were probably going to look at future projects changing the requirements. I don't know if that happened or not. I didn't look into that. But I was under the impression from the meeting I had with them, which was not a formal meeting relative to this issue. It was actually to talk about permitting for the projects and so forth. But basically, they did tell me that that they had to deny that initial bid now, the initial one that they had. So I'm just assuming that may be the one that he was speaking about earlier. So I don't know if that changed or not, but it hadn't changed as of the day after the bid that we took on this project.
All right, I'm confused because I thought I heard Mr. DeLuca say he's working for Martin County now. And is that not the case or is the case, Mr.?
Yeah, he may be working for them, but my understanding from Martin County Utilities is that he had turned in a bid on a project that had the same requirements of whether it was 5 or 2 years, I wasn't sure of what it was, and he didn't qualify for that one. And he was told that he could not, for the same reason why you're being recommended not to approve this, is that he was told that he could not he didn't qualify for that bid. That doesn't mean they didn't change their laws and rules after that, okay? And I don't know if that happened or not. Yeah.
Excuse me, can you step up to the mic? Oh, yeah. Sorry. Try to keep a record.
Thank you, Joe. Sorry, guys. Yes, working with Martin County, the reference is in there. Also, he's correct, because at the time of the bid, it's not disclosed. However, I did put in what I submitted to you guys, a formal example of a contract where Martin County did, I think it's the first thing under your solicitation, your ITB. And this is my point, guys,
So,
this-
wait, could you just answer the question?
Yeah.
You're working for Martin County?
Yes, sir.
You have a contract with them?
Yes, sir.
And they waived a requirement of 5 years?
I wouldn't say they waived it, but it's a workaround, I would call it. And,
Explain that to me.
well, if you see in this first bid that I submitted where it says number 1 in handwriting, this is an example where they did a similar thing. Contractor submitted a bid. It is circled for you guys as well. The requirement is 5 years. I submitted their Sunbiz. They didn't have 5 years. They waived it. We can't change the standard. If it's one person exempt, everyone should be held to the same standard, or else it comes off as arbitrary.
Okay. And so what's the nature of the contract you're doing for Martin County?
Water and sewer project.
Same thing, directional drilling?
Yes, sir. The one I spoke about doing today, yes.
Oh,
it's this
my bad, my bad. Okay, thank you.
Also, South Martin Regional operates under the Martin County umbrella. This same point was brought up to the director of South Martin Regional, Stuart Trent. You can ask him about it. Same thing, because someone came back in and made a big deal out of it, and he said, I'm waiving it. I'm going to waive it and give it to you. So it's subjective is my point, and that's all I'm going to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Fender.
Mr. DeLuca, thanks for being here. I actually have to say that I'm more impressed with your appeal than I thought I was going to be. Your presentation's crisp and compelling. Certainly the savings means a lot to me and our taxpayers, and I thought you presented that case adequately. Can I just ask a couple quick questions? First of all, you used to work for Jamie Underground?
Correct.
Okay, and how long ago? When did you?
May of 2025.
Okay, so recently you've separated from Jamie?
Correct, and as you guys were saying about multiple contractors, I'm not opposed to working with any contractor and solution for the town.
Okay, no, understood. I really thought you were going to, as a small business owner myself, I'm very familiar with Sunbiz. I check out all my customers, and I'm familiar with fictitious names. I have one myself. So that part of that technicality doesn't bother me at all. I thought you were going to tell me that your base underlying corporation was older than 5 years and that the DBA was under and we had made a mistake. So from that perspective, I certainly understand that we probably have disqualified some people that might have bid when they saw the 5 years. So from that perspective, I probably will side with that ruling. But again, I have to say that you've convinced me that you know what you're doing and that your business is worth considering. And your presentation to me was strong, and you're a great presenter and speaker, so I thought you made your case very, very articulately. In this particular case, I think I have to abide by the rules of the bid, but it means a lot to me that you came up here, defended your business, presented this case to us, which is, worth waiving in some cases. In this particular case, I think we're under some stressful deadlines that you even articulated, and I was happy to hear that you recognized that the pressure that we're under. Sitting where I am, I kind of have to rely on staff, and so I'm listening a little bit to that as well. But again, I'll thank you for showing, and I don't mean any disrespect at all. Well, I'll probably stick with the non-appeal, right, or the denial of appeal.
I appreciate that very much, and regardless, I would be willing, I actually have talked to Martin County about solutions to this. I'd be willing to come in here at my own time and explain some things that maybe have better language in there. And regardless of the outcome, I respect everyone here, like I said at the beginning. Also the facts are, I think the inspectors on this job would approve me, which is most important. I think the residents would approve me, and Martin County's already made this waiver for other people and set the standard, and they're the umbrella here, I think. So, thank you.
That's a strong case. You're absolutely right. I appreciate it.
I myself had to go and do jobs for 5 years before I got approved for a handyman license in Martin County. Okay, I had to prove all the jobs, I had to show every paperwork, all the billing, everything, and it was 5 years. Unfortunately, we have set the same thing that we set for 5 years. which I have to basically abide by. I think you did make a great presentation. I think moving forward, it's something for us to think about. So you gave us something to think about. But other than that, I'd have to stick with the ruling as it is now, unfortunately. Mr. Titigus.
Yeah, I mean, what really strikes me, first of all, is that our bid document says the town in its sole discretion reserves the right to waive. Secondly, there's a substantial savings, $150,000 difference between Mr. DeLuca's bid and Jamie Underground. And that's a sizable amount of money. Third, you've got Jupiter Island has entered into a contract with them, a substantial contract. Assuming that they did their due diligence. You have Martin County Utilities has entered into a contract with them and have waived the requirement. And so I think that we need to give some consideration to the cost savings involved here.
Mr. Kurzman.
Yes, I got one more question. How many field workers do you have?
12. I also own an electrical contracting company. We have 4 crews in that company as well. So, but they're, they do their own work. But so I have a total of 25 employees under me. But in this specific one, I have 12 field operators that are out there. And like I stated, they completed this job. I didn't solicit them to come to my company. They sought me out. Oh.
Whoops. Uh-oh. Hold on, sorry. There we go.
Yeah, I'll end it there.
Sorry.
I have
Any other
one more.
questions? Oh, Commissioner Mayfield, that's Vice Mayor Mayfield.
Yeah, I had already stated my position, and I stand by what I say, but to Commissioner Titicus's point, I think as opposed to examining this instance in great detail, we need to examine our RFPs and make changes where needed. Because to all the points referenced before, maybe there were other bidders. I don't think this sets a great precedent, considering it was the minimum qualification. Again, I emphasize the word minimum. I think that you raised good points, and he raised good points. Let's look at modifying the RFP as opposed to kind of working on an exception type way. I'd rather modify the process because I think there was a reason, and the minimum qualifications make a lot of sense in many ways.
May I say, though, that wasn't not issued by the engineer who solicited me, so apparently, I have a lot of love and respect for Joe, but I'm saying apparently even the engineer issuing the the ITB isn't aware of those and why they're there.
Correct, but as a business owner, it's essentially your document, correct?
Understood. Thanks.
Mr. Fender.
Yeah, I was just going to respond to Commissioner Titicus. That $150,000 is super important to me, and so I agree with you there. I don't weigh it just in the $150,000 context. I weigh it in terms of the risk of loss of the $26 million grant scenario. So to me, the $150,000 is a pretty small, it's an important, substantial amount of money, but in the context of the size of this project, it's pretty less than 1% maybe. I mean, it's a small amount.
May I ask if Joe thinks that I could finish this job on time?
No.
Joe?
Well, first of all, he has not worked for me directly yet, okay? So I really don't know his qualifications. I don't know what his resources are. I mean, I'm hearing what he's telling me today, and I do know that him and some of the people that worked with him have done the work in the past. So that's about all I know. It's like everything else. Does he have the equipment? Does he have the finance resource? I don't know that based on this company. I know him and his people doing work, yes. So it would be really hard for me to say that he could be better than Jamie Underground or any of the other bidders that turned in. Again, I'm assessing this based on the minimum qualifications that are in the bid. And quite frankly, we have a lot to do in a short period of time. So I really just have to go with a known entity that we've worked with in the past. So that's all I can really say at this point.
Mr. Tilsivia.
I don't know whether you had any other questions about the process. The gentleman made the point that, once you create a waiver, you've now set a precedent for the future. So if you're going to waive 5 years here, Commissioner Kurzman had a good point, there could have been 10 other companies that had 3 years or 4 years or 2 years experience that didn't bid. Potentially, they could sue the town because they didn't have an opportunity to bid. Potentially, the person who's recommended to award the bid could sue the town for now changing the rules in the middle of the game and saying we're going to pick somebody else. If you did decide that you wanted to give this company a chance, then I would suggest this company put up a bond to guarantee and defend the town against any lawsuits that we may get from any of those people. And the bigger risk, obviously, is the grant funds. Because if we get embroiled in litigation and bid protests, then I almost guarantee you that you're never going to meet the deadline in this particular project because you won't be able to start if you're tied up in litigation. So if you're at all inclined, and I'm not hearing really at least 4 of you, and I'm not sure where you are on this, but that you're not inclined.
Next to you.
But, but if you are inclined to waive it, realize there are other downside risks, and I don't know whether he's going to be willing to put up the kind of money in a bond to guarantee against those risks, as opposed to, the vice mayor's point of maybe you'll modify the process in the future, and if you think 3 years or 4 years or 2 years or whatever the minimum amount would be, should be the minimum. So that was the only thing I wanted to say. There is potential other litigation out there if you change the rules in the middle of the game.
Do you need a vote? Okay.
Commissioner, Vice Mayor Mayfield.
I feel like Commissioner Kurzman was ahead of me, but I was just going to make a motion to wrap it up.
Yeah, and the other thing I was going to also say was, even for the sake of Mr. DeLuca and his company, you'd also be at risk, not just us, all of us would be. And it wouldn't be worth it at this point, but we could definitely talk to our engineer and staff about, in the future, maybe we lower it to 3 years or 2 years, 2.5 years, whatever it might be. It's something for consideration to keep an open mind, and then we could go from there. But right now, the risk definitely outweighs the reward that we could gather, including yourself, as I said. And I don't want to hurt your company, and it does open up to everybody the lawsuits, as counsel just stated. And that has a lot of value in it to myself, and hopefully you understand that as well.
Yes, I do, thank you. I don't think that threat of lawsuit is a reason, though, to disqualify anybody. And the precedent has already, you're right, the exemption has already been set. It's in the packet from Martin County. They've already waived it.
And exactly, you're making the point.
Yeah.
That because Martin County has waived it, now he's trying to get the waiver to extend to another jurisdiction.
Already
And
have.
so that's not, I don't want to get into a debate. My legal advice is, if you start waiving the rules, you can expect potential litigation. He's obviously threatened litigation. He's filed a bid protest. That's one that we know about. But if you now change the rules, you've invited others to file bid protest. You have to go through the same process, take a week or 2 weeks to get in front of a commission to resolve that bid protest, and then potential lawsuit. And we all know, lurking out there, is we have 6 months to get these projects done, and the clock is ticking. So again, the commission wants to take all those risks. Otherwise, it's your decision as to whether you want to waive the rules and invite all those potential issues. We already know about the one potential issue. He's made it clear, but, you don't know what other potential issues are out there.
Mayor?
Vice Mayor Mayfield.
Yes, I would make a motion to deny the bid appeal from WC Dell LLC, DBA Treasure Coast Infrastructure.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Participants?
Commissioner Mayfield, you had suggested earlier that we review the RFP process. Would you be willing to, as part of that motion, indicate that at the February meeting, we review the RFP process?
I'll make another motion. I don't think they should be associated with each other in the same motion. I think they're
Well, if
separated.
you're amenable to it, I'll make the other motion. Okay.
a motion, we have a second. Any other questions? Seeing none?
Well, Commissioner Fender,
The motion is to deny it, so yes.
Yes to deny.
Commissioner Titicus,
Yes.
Commissioner Kurzman,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mayfield,
Yes.
Mayor Burrell.
Yes.
And then,
And now you want to see?
well, did you want to make it, or?
Sure.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion that we review the RFP process and the qualifications for soliciting bids at our February meeting, and that it be put on the agenda.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion on it?
Just, yes, if I can weigh in, just along with everything that we've got going on, if I run into a problem, can I come back to the commission and say, hey, can we delay this to the next meeting after that?
February's a
I don't
good-
really see where we have an RFP coming up, but the workload is increasing, so,
What's a good month for you, Bob?
March, I mean, I can probably live with March.
March.
Is that okay?
I amend it to March.
Thank you.
Perfect.
I'll still second it.
Still have a second? We have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, call the roll.
Commissioner Kurzman,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mayfield,
Yes.
Commissioner Titicus,
Yes.
Commissioner Fender,
Yes.
Mayor Burrell.
I'm going to have to say no.
Motion passes 4-1.
I appreciate everyone's time.
Thank you for
Thank you.
coming.
And to much success on the project and getting all the grants done on time.
you.
I appreciate it.
We get a chance one day, let's get together.
Hopefully, I appreciate it very much.
Okay.
Okay.
And that should take us into
New business.
New business.
New business. Contract approval for J.W. Cheatham.
If I can, Mr. Mayor, just so everyone's aware of it, with the contracts, they've been reviewed, a basic contract through legal, and then we got the final review paperwork today. So the contracts that you have in front of you, although the dollar amounts are going to be the same, none of that's going to change. It's just some of the contractual language that Glenn would like, 24 hours or so to review if you approve it. Did I say that okay, Glenn?
Yeah, obviously, we all know there's a tight turnaround, so we just want to make sure we get all this right, and we know we want to notice to proceed by Friday, so I talked to Bob earlier today. If you can approve this, just subject to the final legal review, these contracts. Want to make sure, the legislature keeps changing. Every legislative session, there's more rules that you have to have, you verify, you have to have. You can't, having a contract with Israel or against Israel, whatever their contracts are, every year they add more, all the boilerplate stuff changes. So we just want to make sure we're up to date with every single thing. And I know Joe and Elizabeth, you've been talking today and you guys have been editing all day. So these are about 98% done. So just, if you could give us another day to finalize them, but I think they're fine for you to vote on if you want to vote on awarding these contracts.
Mr. Fender.
I'm not sure if this is the right time, but where you can direct me to the proper point in the agenda. But what I recall, as we were going to sign these contracts, is that there was a negotiation process in play. Even though we selected the bid, you were going to go back and jiggle some numbers and see what you could get. Where are we in that process? Is that after this or already happened before this?
It's been happening, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I apologize.
I don't know.
I missed all that.
It should be in there.
I believe it already happened.
It
So
happened.
it's already negotiated.
And the next step is I was going to have Joe come through and walk you through, and he's got some slides that he gave me that will show up on your screens.
Yeah, just to be, so you know, I did talk to each one of the contractors and looked at their numbers. So, what we do, if you want to just put up the map, just so everybody knows what where we're talking, sometimes that helps. But as you know, last meeting, I told you what the results were of the apparent low bidders. We went and we do a bid tab of all the bidders. We look at their numbers as relative to each other. We look at their numbers to make sure they've included everything. And we have done that on this project. So I'm going to talk specifically now about the first contract, which is the Phase 2. And as you know, Phase 2 project is a roadway and drainage project, okay? And we received 2 bids. Cheatham was the low bidder, okay? Basically, the bid came in at $5.695 million, okay? Just want to make sure everybody's aware of what we're doing with that. We are building what is in, as you know, the Phase 2 project goes from Sewell's Meadows all the way to Raya Vista, okay? When we put, what we have for that project is we have roughly 3 grants, okay? And one of those grants is the DEP grant that has a deadline of June 2026. So we have to do the work within that grant location, okay? Now, I want you to know, one of the things that we have on the other grants for this same Phase 2 project, one is a DOT grant, which comes from state funding, okay? The bigger grant comes from FEMA. We are still waiting for them to tell us how much money they intend to give us for that construction grant, okay? The reason I'm telling you this is because in order to get a FEMA grant to work, you have to show that you have a benefit cost ratio that makes it feasible for them to give you that money. To do that, you have to look at home values, you have to look at homes that are in floodplain, within the floodplains, those that are out of the floodplains. And so I'm just telling you this because we've had to take the funding we're getting from DEP and do it in an area, quite frankly, that probably didn't give us the best benefit cost ratio. And that's the area that we're making the improvements on. And that basically is from Sewell's Meadows to Oakwood and up Oakwood Drive, okay? That's the FEMA, that is the DEP grant location. And again, I just want to make sure everybody understands that depending on how we spent that money was based on a benefit cost ratio that we had to consider on the FEMA money. Also, you have to realize FEMA money is federal money, right? I told you there's a DOT grant, that's state money. The other item that's important is this DEP grant, and that's the reason why it's due, one of the reasons why it's due in June, is actually federal money, okay? In the process, we have to separate any federal project from another federal project. They have to be completely separate, okay? So I'm only telling you this stuff so that you know it's not as simple as we're going to spend the money in Phase 2 using DEP funds over here and FEMA money here and state money here. We have to strategically locate it so we get the best benefit cost ratio for the FEMA money. That's one of the factors. So most of this is more than you want to talk about. I'm just trying to tell you the project we're working on is specifically, I call it 2A. You guys hate me to call these phases and parts and all this stuff, but it's really the first part, the A part of Phase 2. It's going from Sewell's Meadows to Oakwood, and it's a limited location. That's work we're talking about. Basically, that project entails pump system, it entails raising the road, it entails stormwater storage underground. So it's the same type of work that Cheatham has done in Phase 1 and then done in Phase 2. In Phase 3. So they're doing the same type of work. One of the items relative to negotiation we looked at, there are some improvements that they put into the, what happened is we tried to find property owners that would let us use their land for stormwater retention. One of those was actually the Sewell's Meadows retention area. They did not want us to use and improve their facilities, so we had to move on, okay? So we are taking some of this drainage to the Phase 1 stormwater treatment area. In doing that, we are obviously making some improvements in that area, okay? So I'm telling you these things so you know that it's kind of there's pieces of the work that's going to be done in that Phase 1 area, and that work in the negotiation is we may not have Cheatham do it. We may have another contractor do it because the prices were significantly lower. So we're not certain of that yet. I left it into the bid that you see here, but we will not authorize that until we talk with Sunshine and we talk with Cheatham about it. But the fact of the matter is, that value of that item is about a little over $600,000, okay? Or those items. Now, that doesn't mean if we have another contractor do it, there's not going to be a cost associated, but we probably, maybe a $350,000, $375,000 savings is what we possibly could see. So when you asked me to negotiate, I not only went and looked at dollar values for each of the items, but I also looked at, well, do we have to do this item with this contractor? Possibly we could see a savings. So I want the ability to use another contractor, which we won't hire another contractor till we come before you and tell you who's going to do it and what their prices are and show you the savings. That would be probably the only reason, other than making sure they qualify. Whether they qualify basically can do the work and so forth. So anyways, that's all I'm trying to tell you. So there's a couple little nuances to the negotiation here that I've inserted into the process a little bit.
Okay, I've got a lot of lights here. Boy, for you.
Okay.
Mine is
We
old.
start with
I
the-
don't, you can take mine off.
Take yours out? Okay. We're going to go Mr. Fender.
Yeah, so mine will be short, but you said a whole lot there, and a lot of it scared the crap out of me. So I was waiting for the next shoe to drop. I mean, the reason you're telling me all this because that $600,000 is overrun, or I mean, what's the thesis of that soliloquy you just gave me on the nuance of everything?
Well,
I
let me
want
just,
like 2 sentences, not 10.
so we have about $4.9 million in grant money from DEP. The bid, as you see it here, is 5.6, okay?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to get closer to the money that you actually have from the
So,
grant.
Short sentence is, we don't have grant money to cover the cost right now.
We don't have grant money, but I will let you know, you do have a match requirement, which I haven't put into any of the numbers yet. You know, you do have a match, so that, and quite frankly, I like to try to use as much grant money before I start using your money, right?
Well,
That's
I
what-
need to go back and see that financial cash flow project that Mariah brought to us last week, right? I mean, which was a good chart, but does that, or maybe the numbers you're talking about now with the agreed-upon contracts need to be put into that cash flow model that we can see clearly?
I believe she already had what the bids were at the time, but
She
I'll
did.
verify
I'm
that.
talking about some change in the last week in the process of,
Well, and what we'd be doing is we'd be
Decreasing.
we would decrease the numbers that she gave you. We'd be
so
decreasing.
you believe your changes are in our favor?
They're in your favor, yes.
Okay, that's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah, okay.
You should
Was
have
that-
led
I forget
that.
that was a second. That was the shoe you want me to drop, right?
Yeah,
Okay, got it,
all right.
got it.
Okay. Mr. Titicus.
At the last meeting, and maybe I heard you wrong, because I was on a telephone line that was through Bob's cell phone, but Commissioner Kurzman asked you a question, if you could not cherry-pick portions of the contract, for example, and I think the example that he used was the fact that one of the contractors had significantly bid lower the cost of building the lift station. And your response to Commissioner Kurzman, and as I said, maybe I didn't hear you right, but I always listen very attentively to you, Joe,
I know.
was that, no, you could not cherry-pick the contract. So what's different? Now what I hear you saying is you're going to cherry-pick the contract, and if you can do it on one, why can't you do it on others?
Well, because these items are not necessarily related to Phase 2 area, Phase 2 only, okay? That's number one. Number two, I already had asked permission from the contractor, which is Cheatham, okay, what do you have in this bid? If I took it away, would you have an objection? He did not have any objections to that, so that's why I did it.
Had you asked the other contractor that dealt with the lift station the same question?
I did not ask that question because I hadn't found anything that, like I said, I looked at the numbers, and his numbers are pretty fair for what we were asking for. And that's basis on not just our bid process, but it's also based on information that we've had with, we talked to Martin County Utilities on, so.
Can I, I heard you say pretty fair, but that cost shift is going to be placed on the residents of Rio Vista. And if it's a significant difference, and I think it was 700 versus 500,000 or somewhere in that neck of the woods, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but
Well, I'll show it to you. It is in the stumps, the items today. I'll show you. We did pick the low contractor there. We picked the low bidder on the Rio Vista stuff. And there was a substantial savings in the lift station. And we kept, and that's the one, the Sunshine bid that we'll talk about shortly.
Mr.
And I can
Kurzman.
show it to you on paper. That's what I think. Maybe.
okay.
Mr. Kurzman.
Yes. Joe, I got a question. The retention area in Phase 1, are we going to, now, if we're going to take from what we call Phase 2 to store some of the water into the retention area for Phase 1, will the retention area be significantly made deeper as well as maybe a little bit wider? And also, one thing that we never had happen was the area was never really cleaned up. It still looks, back then, Pam Walker kept saying it's going to look beautiful. It looks horrible. And, the retention area could look better. It looks very overgrown when you look in there. It was supposed to be beautifully set up with plants on the outside. None of that ever happened. And, it's something, it represents the optics when you look at it. It looks more like a cesspool than it does a retention area when you're looking at it some days. And is there anything we could do to improve the appearance?
That is what's in the
Okay,
That's what's in the bid items, is to improve, enhance the vegetation, provide additional, nutrient load reduction from the plants. Obviously, there's some areas of, if you look at the area in front of Mandalay, that basin has riprap in it and it's hard to maintain, so there's some improvements for that. So I think, to answer your question, everything you've asked us to, that you would hope would be happening here is what's in those items.
all right.
Vice Mayor Mayfield.
Yes, I would make a motion to approve the J.W. Cheatham LLC South Sewell's Point Road Phase 2 roadway resiliency improvements
I'll second.
contract.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I have another question. Would you explain again why, well, you have Oakwood is, and the way this was described was it's going to be, the road's going to be raised on Oakwood?
To answer your question, when I mentioned the road's going to, as you know, when we raise South Sewell's Point Road, the side streets have to get raised for a portion.
Right.
And so there is a portion of Oakwood that does get raised because it's a side street that has to tie in to
But the area that we primarily have a problem down there is Riverview and Palm.
that'll be in the Phase 2B part of the project, which I don't have the FEMA money. That area is the area that will be specifically fixed for stormwater management in the FEMA contract, which we are still waiting on their approval for that grant money for construction.
So that's not in any of these documents here.
That's not in it. The only thing that is in here, what's that?
The low-pressure sewer will cover,
Yeah, we are putting in the low-pressure force mains, okay, in the area of Riverview and all those streets, all those
Right,
sites.
I understand that.
Yeah, but the drainage is not happening yet in that area. So hopefully between now and, hopefully in June, we will have that grant sorted out, and then we will use that money and the DOT money to build those improvements.
You can't use the money you've got Oakwood for Riverview and Palm. I mean, that's the pressing issue. You know, we had a ton of people in here
Right.
complaining about the fact that they get flooded.
Right, and then, don't get me wrong, we definitely going to fix that area, but the item is I need, I need those homes and those properties in that area and that road in that area that flood significantly to get the FEMA grant money. I know this is complicated, but I just want you to know, it's specifically, I need that area to get that money from
That
FEMA.
cost-benefit analysis.
The cost-benefit analysis,
You're saying because they flood so much, they're the ones that are eligible?
yeah,
they
I
help
get that,
develop-
they're helping me get the FEMA money. If I don't use if I go fix it with this money, then I'm going to get less FEMA money, and I need that FEMA money.
When was that submitted, and when do you expect an answer?
And I only want to explain this. We've been working with FEMA for about a year, okay?
At
And
least, yeah.
At least a year, and in quite, so, you know, they basically go through various departments, engineering, environmental, all sorts of departments. And I don't want to get into all the details of this, but basically, when, you know, sometimes they ask a question, then it goes to the next department, then they ask more questions. So we've turned that in the last 30 days, because we've had to work with them on the benefit cost analysis, because it is that marginal right now. It's very close to get what we need for money.
So you turned in December. When do you expect an answer?
The gentleman that's been working on this does respond, but as you know, and again, we probably will get, he's passed it forward. The question is, I can't tell you the next department isn't going to have more questions, that's all I'm trying to tell you. But, I mean, we've answered a lot of
I'm
questions.
hoping for April is what, you know, I'm looking at. And that way we can start the process up again to go through the bidding process. And that's why March is probably good at looking at those documents. And I appreciate you delaying it until March. But I think, you know, if we can get the funding straightened out by April, and then, you know, do the bidding, and hopefully we can go right from where we end up the project at Oakwood and finish the rest of it, of the Phase 2. Does that help?
Mr. Fender? Okay. Any other questions? Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. Call the roll.
Commissioner Fender?
Yes.
Commissioner Kurzman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mayfield?
Yes.
Commissioner Titicus?
No, with the caveat that we need to fix Ridgeview and we need to fix Palm. And what I'm hearing is that we're going to have maybe an answer in April. And if that answer is no, then we're going through another storm season with 2 areas in our community, or 2 streets in our community, that are going to be underwater. And I think we need to address it now.
Mayor Burrell?
Yes,
Motion passes 4-1.
let's go to item B, contract approval for Hinterland Group, Inc., the Rio Vista Pipelining, Part 3B.
So that's a second project. So as you know, we are building a lift station and lining this existing gravity sewer mains that are put in many years ago in the Rio Vista subdivision. We are lining them. The low bidder for that project was Hinterland Group out of Riviera Beach, and they turned in a low bid of $764,420, and essentially we're recommending that they be hired as the contractor. One of the items I just wanted to make sure, it's $764,420. We have had in the selection of the contractor, There was some concerns that Martin County Utilities had of this group. We talked with Martin County Utilities, we talked to the group, Hinterland Group, and we believe that, that they will accomplish the work. We actually have put in a caveat that one of the things that happens when you line when you start the lining process is you have to go TV the line, find the roots, cut the roots out because there's many roots in these pipes, and then basically after that, then after you get the roots out, you video it again, and you make a recommendation on what the improvements are going to be. So in this case, we expect them to have that done by February 5th, and we want a recommendation. So that gives us an opportunity to make sure they stay on task of getting the work done. And that's an item that we've inserted into this contract. So anyways, we're recommending them for the project. They were substantially lower than the other bidders for numbers.
Vice Mayor Mayfield.
I'd make a motion to approve the Hinterland Group Rio Vista Pipelining Part 3B contract.
I'll second.
We have a motion and we have a second. Any discussion?
I have some questions.
Titigus?
Joe, what's the issue with Martin County Utilities that they had with Hinterland Group? Would you please explain that?
Yeah, one of their problems is they did not, they took quite a while to finish a project for them. It was a little different than ours in the sense that it was an active sewer line. Ours are not active. The ones that we're lining, they're dry lines. And so it took a while for them to get to that. And there was some difference in the type of pipes that they ran into. And so I'm listening to Hinterland tell us the issues they ran into. But in all, Martin County Utilities and Martin County itself stated that they would have to show that they can get their work done in a timely manner.
I have two more questions. One is on page 44, paragraph 3.11 and paragraph 3.2, which deals with milestones and liquidated damages. If they don't finish on time and we have to pony up the money because we lose the grant money, will these liquidated damages, and perhaps this is a question for both you and Mr. Daniels, offset, the grant money that would be lost?
I do not believe that the liquidated damages that we have in there for this contract, you may notice that the Cheatham contract has a much different liquidated damage. It's because it's roadway and drainage, and it falls under a different category. We did not believe, because again, we were trying to make sure we got enough bidders on this, that that we should raise the liquidated damage number. So it's at $500, I believe.
$500 a day.
That's certainly not enough to cover that contract. And so it's, like I said, it would be close. Our reason for using February 5th as a date to know that they are on track is because we kind of looked at how much time really they need for lining. It probably, once they know the issues, it could be done in about 30 days, okay? So let's just say we decide on February 5th that that they're not responding, and then we put them on notice that we're going to have to move on to somebody else, that we have some time to do that before the 30 days ahead of the June deadline. So we're trying to make sure we tried to put some time in there so we know if we had to go hire another contractor, we would. I hope we don't have to do that, but that's what our.
My third question was, if they don't make the February 5th date, what's the backup plan? Who's the fallback?
Well, there's There's been, as you know, there's four, I believe this one had 4 bidders. Let me just make sure, I don't want to say the wrong thing.
But I think PRP was the second.
Yeah, PRP, local contractor we've used before, we would go to them.
Okay, and then how are we going to cover that increase in cost?
Well, again, let me just kind of give you a summary. I did a summary of, and again, I don't like to anticipate this, but so you know, after I look at the numbers we will have spent on septic to sewer projects, including these, we're at about $6.4 million, and we have an $8.4 million grant. So we do have money in the grant. Just, not that I want to use it. Again, I'd like to try to keep the numbers down, but there is about $2 million that we are not going to be spending on that grant.
I thought we had 5.9 or 5.8 or 5.9 left after we got done with what we're currently doing on the septic to sewer down in High Point, Island Road, and coming down that neck of the woods.
So when I put the numbers, and I'm just using the numbers we have today, okay? It comes to, the 169 was $1 million, a little over $1 million. That's the first phase here, okay? That's where they're already putting in grinders, okay? What's that?
First part.
First part. And I'm only giving you contractors' numbers, okay? There is an additional cost that you're paying for my services and for engineering services, and that's another $300,000. So we're about $1.35 million in that project. The 171 connections with Sunshine Land Design is working on now is close to 1.5. There's about another 500,000 in that, okay? And so in engineering size, okay? The Rio Vista lift station, in the lining and everything, there's about 355, and that's the gravity sewer lining and the Rio Vista lift station. There's about 1.4 million there, and I'm going to give you this table if you'd like it, okay? And then the next thing is the 134 connections. It's just under $1 million, and you're spending about 352 on that. So the numbers come to about $5 million in construction and about 1.4 million in design services that you're paying for. So you can see that you add those two together, that's 6.4.
Okay. But didn't we have at 5.8 left over?
We may have had that before we did these
Did Rio
projects.
Vista.
Yeah, once we added Rio Vista and so forth, you're right, we probably had it before, but unfortunately now we bid everything and now this is putting everything in there.
All right, can I make a copy of this?
Yeah.
Keep a
I'm
copy.
I was gonna share it with everybody, I just didn't.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
I just have one question. Do the people on Rio Vista know that they're getting gravity? And know that there's a possible assessment?
We have not determined the assessment yet. I think our direction has been that we were gonna
No
stay.
assessment.
What's that?
There's no assessment.
No assessment.
Oh, is there a customer contribution to a lift station?
When they connect.
Well, we'll come to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the question came up, so I'm just,
Right, we need it, when we use the term assessment, everyone needs to be very clear which one they're talking about.
Okay.
Just for the clarity of the conversation, not for
really
any,
choose your words.
yes, not for, not just
It's a
so we all know what
hookup
we're
fee.
talking about.
A hookup fee, that's really what
That's a
it
better
is.
way to put it, a hookup fee.
Customer connection fee, I like, it's
And if
it's in
they
the
don't hook
reports.
up?
They don't pay the fee.
There's no fee. You don't hook up,
Okay.
so there's no assessment. Assessment is they come through, they do the work, you know, you have 100 houses, you divvy it up, what the costs were between 100 houses. That's an assessment. A connection fee, or whatever you want to call it, is where you take the overall costs, and that's one of the things that, once we know what the overall costs are, we're going to come back and say, hey, this is, you know, what we're looking at between the 171 connections and the 134 connections and the Rio Vista connections, because the temperature I got from the commission, at least at that time, when we had the discussion, is to flatten the cost out between everybody that's getting the sewers. So that's what we're working on. But again, it's without knowing what we're going to be spending on the contract. If, we get delayed and we couldn't do, 134 because of a protest or a lawsuit or whatever, there's a lot of moving parts to this thing. So, but yes, but I do object to your use of the word assessment,
Strongly.
very strongly.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second for the contract approval for Henlin Group. Want to call the roll? Any other
Vice
questions?
Mayor Mayfield,
Yes.
Commissioner Titicus,
Yes.
Commissioner Kurzman,
Yes.
Commissioner Fender,
Yes.
Mayor Burrell.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, on to item C. And this is contract approval for Jamie Underground. This is for the 134 grinder connections.
Yes, this is essentially, we did take bids on this, and as you know, part of the protest that you heard earlier, the lowest qualified bidder was submitted by Jamie Underground. It's at $1 million roughly, and there's 4 bids submitted, and we did talk to Jamie Underground, and they did lower a couple of their prices, and they're at $996, $480. That's how much their contract is now.
Let's see. Vice Mayor Mayfield.
Sir, I was just going to make a motion.
Oh, me too. How'd you know?
Well, you have a first and a second between us.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to
Okay.
approve the Jamie Underground Rio Vista 100, no, it's not actually that was on, it's not the Rio Vista,
It's
it's the
134.
134 grinder connections, Part
Oakwood
3A,
Rail.
3B.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that contract.
Most expensive copier I ever met.
So we have a motion and we have a second.
Yes.
Just take one.
Okay.
That's it.
Any conversation about this?
I have a few questions. Then, when you go to page 81, as I understand that this is 129 connections versus the 134. And page 81 of the agreement, and I know we just said that Glenn could review it later, but that needs to be changed from 134, or from 134 to the 129.
So you're on, just so we're clear, you're on the interlocal agreement, correct?
No, I'm on page 81, which is the agreement with Jamie Underground.
Okay. I did want to explain just that issue with you. When we calculated the number of connections, 134, we looked at the number of platted lots and everything, okay? What ends up happening, as you may know, is when people buy lots next to each other, sometimes they merge them into one lot for tax reasons and so forth, or they decide to build one house on 2 lots, right? In this case, when you do the numbers, it's 129. So,
Okay.
that's really what happened.
Is that what drove the cost reduction?
No. It didn't have any effect on the cost reduction, but essentially, that it did have something to do with, the county would prefer, what the county in their interlocal agreement does is they actually have the actual lot numbers and the property number on there. And that's what they insist that we created that document. It's in the interlocal agreement that you have. And so to answer your question, when we bid the project, we thought we were still under 134, but it's really going to be 129.
Okay, well, that just needs to be changed. Well, and then secondly, page 97, if you go to section 3, we had an email that was sent to all the commissioners from a concerned citizen about Jamie Underground and the fact that I guess Homeland Security picked up some of their workers and they were in here illegal, and as a result of that, wouldn't have made it through the E-Verify system.
The E-Verify system doesn't work. If you've listened to some of the recent problems that they've had with it, and I don't know if it has to do with, surnames or what, but they've had some issues with it. So, again, I can't attest to one company or another, but I just know from my experience in law enforcement and what they've been doing here is a challenge with the state troopers and so forth. They've had a lot of corporations that thought that they were okay and ended up where they had people E-verified, and they ended up where, they had workers that got detained.
Well, this contract that we have in front of us says additional required state law provisions. And Section 3 talks about E-Verify and an affidavit from all contractors. Since CapTech is responsible for making sure that the contractors comply with all the provision of these contracts, how do you plan on doing that, Joe?
I believe there's a document that they have to sign attesting to that their employees all were checked out under E-Verify. I think that's what the state requires. So I would imagine between Joe, us, and our auditors, we're going to have to show that we complied with that. So I would assume that Jamie Underground has probably filled that out on other positions, but if not, they need to fill out an affidavit which basically says that all of their employees have been verified under the E-Verify system. But I'll get to the bottom of that and make sure that we follow up on it.
I just want to make sure that we do it. I
Yep.
mean, because
I appreciate it.
we had one citizen point out that he didn't think, or at least that there were some people for Jamie Underground that got picked up by
We
Homeland
don't know if that was
Could have been a woman, could have been a woman.
but we don't know if that was a resident though, too. So it could very easily have been somebody that
A competitor.
had sour grapes. Timing wasn't
Yes.
very good on it.
Mr. Kurzman.
Yes, I was going to comment on that, too. We'd never be able to hire anybody that's in that type of industry. Most of the people, a lot of them, I'm sure, may not be documented. And it just, we're going to be paying, if it's everybody's going to be documented and it's going to be guys like us doing it, it's going to be a lot more money. And that's the only way you could run a business, I guess.
So are you
But-
suggesting we break the law, Dave?
I'm not-
Is that what I'm hearing?
What I don't know, I'm not going to ask at that point, so,
Don't ask, don't tell. Okay.
yes. You could also have ex-cons working. I mean, who knows what's there, and they're legal. But at the end of the day, is that we get good work, and, we're trusting them to take care of it, and they signed a contract, they're going to do what they got to do. And, even the people that cut our lawns, wherever you want to go, I mean, I'm going to leave it at that.
Okay,
A quick question.
you got it.
Yeah, I just wanted to confirm, Commissioner Titicus, you made it sound like this, but I could have heard you wrong. You said something about Joe with the subcontractors, but the contracts are between the construction company and us. You made it sound like he was subcontracting out the contractors, which he's not doing as CapTech. Is that correct, or am I wrong, or?
I think you're wrong, because we will be entering into a contract with CapTech, that CapTech is going to monitor the compliance with all of the elements of these contracts. And so that falls back on our,
Is that Joe, or is that CEI? I get confused with all the
So
exact.
it's CapTech.
Yeah.
Yeah, in this case, it's CapTech.
Okay.
The one that he's talking about. There are, just so you know, the South Sewell's Point Road Phase 2 project is being done by another CEI firm, just so we're clear. That's the one that's working on the Phase 3 also. That's Culpeper Interpreting. So,
Okay.
but these contracts for septic to sewer, Captech is working on.
Okay.
To answer. So you are correct.
Okay. So we have a motion and we have a second, a contract for approval for Jamie Underground. Any other questions?
Was there a motion?
I thought I did the motion.
Yes.
Yeah,
for
motion
that.
and
I
a second.
apologize, I had to step out of the room, so.
Yeah.
Yes, we
I made
did
the
for
motion,
some-
he seconded.
Yeah. Okay, seeing none, let's call the roll.
Commissioner Kurzman,
Yes.
Commissioner Fender,
Yes.
Commissioner Titicus,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mayfield,
Yes.
Mayor Burrell.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, now we're off to the races with contract approval for Sunshine Land Design.
Okay, as you know, the Rio Vista subdivision, we've already talked about lining the sewer lines, but we also have to build a lift station. And because there were two different types of operations, and we had such a short time frame, we've decided to, the contractors had the right to bid both the lining and the lift station, or separately. And so in this case, the low bidder for the lift station work was submitted by Sunshine Land Design. And that price is $723,721, and that is the low bid. It was, and they had a lower price for the, just want to make sure I got the, sorry about that. Basically, there were three bids for the lift station, and the low bid was submitted by Sunshine Land Design at $723,721. PRP was the second bidder, which at $853. So with that, that's pretty close to about $125,000 additional above. Sunshine and Hinterland was $887. So essentially, that's probably about $150,000. So essentially, Sunshine is a low bidder, and I know you were concerned about their price. The lift station that they've submitted is at $219 versus the numbers from Hinterland and PRP were in the 413 to 426, so, or 436, I'm sorry. So they were substantially lower on the lift station price.
Okay, got some lights here. Mr. Titicus.
How many properties have to sign up to provide sufficient flow to the lift station?
I think we were planning, I think 50 was kind of the number we were looking at, but actually, once we put the lift station in, we were told that we did not have to, we could get rid of the,
Flushing station.
the flushing station by the county.
Right, but, and I'm jumping ahead, the county interlocal agreement says that the force main flushing stations be taken offline and that installed in an operation with adequate connections to achieve 2 foot per second flushing velocities for the lift station in the Rio Vista subdivision. So the interlocal agreement is saying we got to do 2 foot per second.
Thank you.
How many properties does it take to do 2 feet per second?
I'm going to have to pass on answer. I will get that answer for you. James, my project engineer was here. James, he could tell you off the top of his head, but I want to think it was 50, but let me clarify that. I don't want to tell you something that may be a little off.
Vice Mayor Mayfield.
Yeah, I was going to make a motion to approve the contract with Sunshine Land Design for the 76 gravity sewers Rio Vista improvements and lift station.
Second.
Is there any conversation, any questions? You're good? Okay. We have a motion and we have a second. Call the roll.
I have another question. I mean, the cost,
Been like the last minute.
yeah, well,
on.
the cost is $723,721. And I know we talked about waiting until we got the numbers. This is the number. So how is that going to be dealt with? Because if you divide it by 76 homes, it's $9,522.64 per residence. And if you go back and you take a look at, what does it require for the lift station, the average flow rate from a typical household is of 2.5 to 3 people is about 300 gallons a day. And if you're looking at 300 gallons a day divided by 86,400 seconds per day, it's 0.0035 gallons per second. So in order to get that, you got to have pretty close to the 76 houses sign up in order to meet what's in our interlocal agreement.
So, first of all, what I think let me make sure I understand what you're asking. Number one, we have an interlocal agreement based on connections, but that technically is not the same as the match requirement, right? Or in our case, our capital connection, lot connection. Yeah, I want to make sure I don't call it the wrong thing.
Are we on the interlocal agreement?
No.
No, but the interlocal, I mean, this directly ties into this because the interlocal agreement calls for there to be a flow rate coming through that lift station. And, when I went on AI and queried in terms of what's the average flow rate, and
Is that Gronk
Yep. Yeah, I love grok,
or Grok? Sorry.
And unfortunately, I used 0.25 gallons as opposed to 0.2, but it came out to 72 homes. So knock it down a little bit, but it means that there has to be a substantial number of folks signing up on the Rio Vista subdivision.
Well, while we're on
I
the,
have
I'm sorry.
I was just going to look for clarification because we already have these flushing stations that are, so where is it that you're talking about? Because are you talking about 152, number 6? Page 152, number 6, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, 152, paragraph 6.
Okay.
Sorry.
Working question, I'm taking off line 5,
I'm going to try to get, if you don't mind, I'm going to try to get James to answer that question real quick.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, do you want to take a 5-minute break when we get an answer for that?
Anyone want to take a 5?
I'm just suggesting, it's up to you.
Back to work.
Well, hopefully,
We'll wait.
let me go stand over him and
Yeah.
Are we on a break? Did that happen? Or, I was wondering if I could ask a question, or are we on a break?
No. Kind of a casual.
So I'm just trying to, I'm reading the force main plus flushing station shall be taken offline, and that's the force main plus flushing station we already have, correct? And it's already working, correct, okay. Shall be taken offline once the Part 3, I'm just trying to understand this, I'm not saying, once the low-pressure force main is installed and in operation with adequate connections to achieve the flushing velocities, or the lift station has been installed and is operational, whichever comes first. So how does that matter about the connect, I'm trying to get, how is the connect, because it makes it sound like they come off once there's enough connections, so it doesn't say anything about, or the lift station is being installed and operational. So it makes it sound like once the lift station is operational, it doesn't matter how many connections are there.
It does.
That's what I'm, yeah, that's what I'm asking you.
Or at least in my mind, because the way, we have a flushing station right now because we don't have an adequate number of houses signed up for the low-pressure force main.
Correct.
And in order to make sure that there's an adequate flow, we're pumping water through it.
Right.
So now the lift station needs a flow of 2 feet per second of water coming through it. So then the question is, how many homes have to be,
Wait, where do you see the lift station needs 2 feet per second? I see that the low-pressure force main flushing station needs 2 feet per second, but I don't see that the lift station needs that.
adequate connections to 2 foot per second velocities, or the lift station has been installed and operational, but the lift station needs a certain amount of flow coming through it.
I'm not saying you're wrong, I just don't see where that is. If that is supposed to be common knowledge or something, I don't know that. I thought that was something that just worked on.
Can I ask a clarifying question? Is your thesis that we need to remove the flushing station? I mean, what if we just leave it there? If we don't meet the requirement, the flushing station would then meet the requirement, right?
Well, the flushing station's coming offline.
But it doesn't have to.
My issue, or my concern,
Yeah.
okay, is that, are we going to be in a situation to where a certain number of people in Rio Vista are mandatory connections?
Not if the flushing station does not come offline.
Well, also, it doesn't, like I said, I don't understand how you're getting that from this paragraph, and maybe that's just us not meeting. It says, shall be taken offline once there's adequate connections to achieve 2 feet per second flushing velocity. Maybe we need to talk to the lawyer that wrote this document, but I don't quite see how,
Well,
then it goes, or the lift station in the Rio Vista subdivision has been installed and is operational. But it makes no mention of how much water is needed for, how many connections are needed for a lift station. It only talks about, amount of water needed for the flushing station to not be needed, if that makes sense.
Well, perhaps the town engineer can explain it.
Or the lawyer, this looks like legal.
Okay, so first of all, I have James Carnes on the line, and he can hear you, so I just want to make sure, this isn't answering your whole question, Frank, but I just want to make sure you realize the way the stipulation reads, the force main shall be taken offline once the 3A and B low-pressure force mains are installed and in operation with adequate connections to achieve 2 feet per second, right? Flushing velocity, or, it's not and, it's or, the lift station in Rio Vista has been installed and is operational, whichever comes first. So I just want to make sure we're not doing, once we get the lift station in place, which we intend to have done before June of 2026, we don't have to have the flushing station. That's one thing. Now, that's not answering your question. I know you got more. I just want to make sure I understood. It's an and, it's an or. It's not and, it's or here. I just want to make sure you got that.
Got it.
Okay, so now let's talk about what your concern is, because we're only getting, as you point out, we're only getting, what is it, James? How many connections in Rio Vista?
74.
76 connections in Rio Vista, but I will bring up that the interlocal does not stipulate anybody has to be connected to the station in order to take the flushing station offline. It just says it has to be operational, which would mean it has to be installed, accepted by Martin County Utilities, and accepted by DEP. It doesn't include any particular amount of people to be connected at any given time.
Is there a volume needed to operate a lift station?
James, did you hear that question? Is there a volume needed for,
Is there a volume that is needed to operate the lift station?
A volume.
Was that the question?
yes, yes.
Well, I mean, we designed it for full connection operation, which is obviously the worst case scenario. But as with all development, it's a progression throughout the construction of development. Very few, if we were to sit down and look at maybe a new construction development where you have 300 homes, as people connect or inhabit those houses, you still have to have lift station operational ready for people to actually move into those houses, start flushing the toilet. There's very few municipalities that dictate a minimum number of connections in order for them to own that station. That's kind of in the spirit of what this agreement is indicating. This station has to be online and available for connections. Martin County did not stipulate an amount of connections for it, but what I will say is once they get the first connection to it, they're going to have to adjust the flows in order for it to operate sufficiently. Now, what I'll say is I believe the lift station is going to be operating somewhere between 100 and 120 gallons a minute. An average home discharges 250 gallons. So this thing would operate for 2 minutes and shut off. So it's going to have one slug if one house comes online of 2 minutes at 125 gallons a minute. So when you couple that with all the other connections you already have with grinders, you will achieve the 2 feet per second in the main. And I think that's the philosophy Martin County is using.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
That answered my question.
Thank you, James.
Good question, Frank.
All right, thanks, James.
No problem.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Bye. And just so you know, we are putting in this, the flushing station technically could stay there if we need it. We want to get offline with that because it's costing us money based on the water consumption, okay? But we have the ability to keep that in place if we needed to, but we're not going to do that. We're going to take it offline as fast as we can so we can use the lift station. That's what our plan is.
Final question, and then I'll be quiet on this issue.
Thank you.
Well, you know, hey, this is what happens when you read the packet.
I appreciate you reading the packet.
We all appreciate you reading the packet.
Somehow or another, I don't see a lot of sincerity in your voice, Mayor. You know, we said that we're going to figure this out in terms of how it's going to be handled once we get the numbers. And we got a number now for the lift station. And so what's the plan in terms of how we're planning on handling this expense of $723,721, which in the previous documents have been listed as a customer contribution?
Well, my plan is that we have another meeting in January. Obviously, you know, we're working now to get the agenda out this week for our meeting next week. So the second meeting in January, which I believe is somewhere around the 27th,
It is January 27th.
January 27th. So I'm hoping to have some ideas that I can bring forward to you all so you can make that determination at that meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, do we have a motion and a second on the contract approval for
I
Jamie?
think I made a
Underwood?
motion. didn't I?
Yes.
Did you make a motion? and a
It was
second?
a while ago.
You guys are making
I've done it
motions
every
like
time.
crazy here, I have to make sure. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, call the roll.
Commissioner Titicus,
Yes.
Commissioner Fender,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mayfield,
Yes.
Commissioner Kurzman,
Yes.
Mayor Burrell,
Yes,
motion passes.
now we have the next one, which is D. Contract approval, Sunshine Land Design, Rio Vista, 76 Gravity Sewer Improvements, lift station.
We just
That's the one we just did, right?
We just
No.
did that.
No, oh, I'm sorry, yeah, you're right, we're doing the interlocal.
We're
We
doing
just
the
did it.
interlocal.
We're on the
now.
interlocal agreement there, Vinnie.
Okay, here we go. approval of the interlocal agreement with Martin County for septic to sewer Part 3.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to.
Mr. Kurzman, I'll let you go.
I was just going to make a motion.
Good.
Can I ask a,
I'll second. I don't,
We have a motion, we have a second.
Motion was to approve, I'm
Yes.
assuming.
Yes.
Okay.
I have a couple housekeeping comments, and this is directed at Mr. Torcivia to save him some work. Page 152, paragraph, 152, paragraph 9 should reflect 129 grinders. And Exhibit B, page 180, should also reflect 129 grinders. Thank you. You're welcome.
Mayor, I have one little housekeeping item too for, I think this was put together by CapTech. Your title page, my name is misspelled.
Ooh. That's a major violation. That's 100,000 off of contract, I think.
Exactly.
How do you misspell Mayfield?
No, it's
Titicus,
misspelled
I
Ki-
understand.
It's Kiaja. It's supposed to be Kiaja.
Kiaza. Oh, that's nice.
I apologize.
That's all right.
We'll fix that right away.
Thank you.
That was the first thing I learned when I started working here, is how to spell your name.
That's it.
Duly noted, right? Ready?
Okay. Vice Mayor Mayfield?
That was what I was, so I'm done.
You done?
Done, yep.
Okay. We need a motion and a second for E, which is approval of the interlocal agreement with Martin County.
Pardon? No. $129
All of them?
versus
Call the roll.
the 150 and 134.
Do we have a motion and a second?
Yes.
We do.
We're okay with that? Okay. All right.
Commissioner
No other, nope.
Commissioner Kurzman,
Yes.
Commissioner Titicus,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mayfield,
Yes.
Commissioner Fender,
Yes.
Mayor Burrell,
Yes.
motion passes.
It should bring us to
Okay.
comments.
Any commissioner staff closing comments?
I have a comment.
Okay.
Sorry, I was verbally pressing my light, which you're not supposed to do. I apologize. I wanted to make a point, Commissioner Titicus, when, on the first thing that you voted no on, the first contract we approved, the Phase 2 roadway resiliency, since you explained your vote and I didn't get a chance to say afterwards, I just wanted to reassure people that I agree with you that that area is the biggest problem, but sewer is coming, so at least the flooding, one of their complaints about the flooding included the sewage, so at least sewer is on track to help that. And also the primary flooding is tidal, in my opinion, or what I see most of the time. It's really, they have a specific problem with the tidal flooding in the fall. So hopefully come April, hopefully everything will work out right with FEMA, and if it doesn't, I would think that we could have time to take other actions to help those residents, because I agree it is a priority. But I didn't want to cut off the nose to spite the face and mess things up for the entire project, so. That was it.
Mr. Fender?
And I was just going to say that I am very appreciative of you, your detail in approving, going through the packet, so thanks for that. If you thought that we don't appreciate it, you'd be mistaken.
No, yeah, my only issue, sorry, I'll wait to be recognized.
Oh, you're recognized.
Would you like to tell me that I put, okay, yeah. You know, the grant that was applied for in December is a maybe. And the people at Palm and Riverview are a problem now. And yes, you're right, it's tidal, it's also, storm surge. And so as a result of that, we do have the money now to take care of that problem. And all I was suggesting was that money that is being slated for Oakwood, move it down the street and take care of those two. And if the grant doesn't come through, obviously, we've solved the problem. Otherwise, we're going to have to come up with the money somewhere along the line. And these people have waited very patiently. And I just think we should have addressed it, or we should address it. It should be a priority.
It's a priority for me. We're just operating different ways.
Well, it's the same thing, I think when we laid out or when Joe laid out where we were going with the sewer system, should have taken care of the low-lying areas first, in my mind, rather than run it all the way around the high point. But that didn't happen, and so here's another opportunity to kind of resolve an issue. And, different opinion, different philosophy.
Mr. Kurzman.
Yeah, I think the idea is to go, but before what Joe said, is we need the area to store the water first. You can't just go directly into the river. The outfall over there totally has to be replaced, but you're going directly into the river, which you cannot do anymore, if I'm correct. And so we can't go back and repeat the same mistake where the water comes in. So what we're doing now is putting Phase 2 back into the retention area where Phase 1 is. Then when we get to the rest of Phase 2, it could join in. You got to go with the connection to go straight through, plus with the road raised. And I believe that, am I correct on that, Joe? That's how I took it.
Thanks.
Well, I mean, let's remember a couple of things, because I just been doing this for a while here, and what you're saying is correct, but there's a lot of items that are directing on how we handle this. As you know, FEMA has provided us grant funds. They did Phase 1. We had to wait because of issues with getting the federal money. We had the state money. We had to spend it or else lose it. We ended up moving to Phase 3 first, and the main reason for that is that was the first grant we had, and we were going to be losing those grant funds. So as much as we would have liked to gone in order, we would have lost those funds if we did not go to Phase 3. Okay, and you have to understand the funds from FEMA come based on a hurricane. Okay, and if those hurricane funds are only good for a certain amount of years, so we have to move over to that project, and recognizing that yes, Riverview had problems and we still have problems there. I'm not trying to defend this as much as I'm trying to tell you, if you want to go as soon to a place where everybody's complaining, we can do that, but we are not going to gain the maximum value out of all the grants we have. And again, we need to remember, we're trying to match federal grants with state grants, and quite frankly, when we did get some of these grants, we didn't realize they would not give us those grant funds unless they were ARPA money. Well, ARPA money is federal money. So guess what? We now have to go find other avenues to make our match happen. And I'm not trying to make excuses, I'm just trying to tell you, we still probably haven't have resolution to our FEMA grant in Phase 2 because FEMA's been up in the air a little bit here, folks. I mean, if you've been reading the paper, nobody's jumping on FEMA money at this point or getting it. So we've been doing pretty good, but I mean, there's always, it's not that we're not working on all of these and trying to make sure everybody's, we want to get River Road done, right? I'd like to get that done, and then all those people on the east side of River Road will not be flooding and so forth, but I got to wait for the grant fund. So, I mean, if you guys want to put money up forward, we can do all this stuff, but you're going to be paying for it with your tax dollars, which I'm not saying that the grants aren't tax dollars, but I mean, I don't know how else to do this. Mariah's done a phenomenal job of keeping track of the money and making sure she figures out ways we're going to cover some of this. But, of the municipalities I work for, this is one of the few that has a cash flow issue. Let's be honest about it. You don't have the funds that City of Stewart, Martin County, or Port St. Lucie and everybody has. So obviously those fall into place here too. So I'm not asking for your sympathy. I'm just trying to tell you there's a lot more to consider here than just saying, hey, this guy's complaining over here, we got to fix it. We know we have to fix it, but it's all up and down, North and South Sewell's Point Road. It's not just one spot.
Mr. Daniels,
I wanted to clear up an issue, and Commissioner Tigas, we didn't just apply for grant money in December. This application for Phase 2 has been in the works before I came here. They had the FEMA money tied up. What has happened is the rules have changed with FEMA, and the cost-benefit analysis has gotten stronger. So that's why it's caused for some redesign work to be done. The problem being at right now, if we were to say, okay, well, we don't want to do 2A, we want to go do 2B, we wouldn't be able to do anything because we wouldn't get, well, we'd probably be able, by the time we went out to bid again and everything else, we probably wouldn't have the time to do the project to keep those grant funds to the end of June. And so that's the timetable thing. So we are working with FEMA. We've been working with Commissioner Mast's office. We did get some money out of FEMA. I think it was like $480,000 roughly. And we have another chunk of money that we're supposed to be getting from it, and Mariah's been on top of that. Anyhow, I just wanted to kind of clear the air. It wasn't like these are new funds. These are funds that were in the works for 3-4 years. And pretty much, we have to have those funds spent sometime towards the end of '26. So we're going to be under a time crunch again when we do get FEMA finally going. And hopefully they'll take that into account with our contract, so.
okay, Mr. Kurzman, and then
We got to have some confidence over here, because the bottom line is, we've gotten, I think, around $30 million in grants without touching ad valorem taxes. That's called a miracle. It just doesn't happen, and we could thank CapTech, our town manager, and Mariah. They've worked diligently around the clock, so we don't have to pay for this. And I'm not going to question, because they already have a line of success. And I've seen it come in over and over, and I've had my doubts too. I've been in that chair where, like, how the heck are they going to do this? It's not going to happen. This could drive us broke, but here we are, almost $30 million later in grant money, with hardly touching ad valorem taxes, and that's amazing. I mean, every town or city in the state of Florida would give anything to say they've accomplished that, and that's just amazing, and credit due where it's due. And I've never seen anything like it. I mean, even where I lived before, I would go to the meetings, and we were putting up like 50% minimum to get grants from, whether it was federal, state, county, whatever it took. But I don't know how he's doing it, but I'm not going to question it. It's working. And if he says he's going to do it, you got to have heart and then believe in it. We're not going to get there again.
okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Got a second?
Thank you, everybody, for
you.
taking the time out of your day. I appreciate it.